So match number 2 over the World Cup has come and gone, and some nations are already out, and some nations have already made it through to the knockout stages. Today I'm going to give you my power ratings from A to F. Who's going in, who's going home? We're going to take a little look next. That's right, folks, back once again with another ranking video. Today we're going to take a look at each and every one of the nations out in Qatar after they complete their second round of matches, of course. Who's doing above standard, who's doing very, very poor, and of course who's doing just about right. And of course we'll put them, give them a grade from A to F, and of course see who's doing just about right as well. We'll take a look at all of it in a second. Of course, people shout out VIPs, they are the patrons, and if you're new, where you been, smash your subscribe button back to all things Rovers related, World Cup related, looking good, and a German shirt related. So here we go, guys. We're going to jump straight to the deep end. We did it for match number 1. We're now back again for match number 2 and see who's doing better, who's doing worse, and who is still on track to make the knockout stages. Okay, kicking it all off over in Group C is Argentina, of course, who bounced back after their opening day disaster against Saudi Arabia with a comfortable 2-0 win over Mexico. Tricky side, of course, who could have caused them some problems, but they just got over the line this past week as well to get themselves back on track. It wasn't stellar prime time, of course, Argentina, but it was just enough to get over the line. For me, I'm going to give them a big B, which is much better than last week's performance, and of course, edging a little bit closer to the knockout stages. Kicking on forward, though, we're going to take a little look at Australia. That's right, coming at you over in Group D. A big win for them over Tunisia to get them in the mixer, and of course getting themselves a little bit closer to actually qualifying for the knockout stages. A much better performance for me. I'm giving them a B+, and of course can they get the next result over in the respective group to get out of this group stages and into the last 16. Kicking off before we go into also a Group F. That's right, and it is Belgium. Now Belgium have just flattered to deceive ever since they started this World Cup. They got a nice result, or a fluky result maybe, against Canada, but of course this week they were found out when they took on Morocco and lost 2-0 over in Group F. Of course the performance deserves an E for me. Not great, woeful, concerning, of course, and yeah, even Kevin De Bruyne coming out in the woodwork to say that Belgium are too old and will not go anywhere near winning this World Cup. The final whistle's just gone, of course, over in Group G, and it's Wazoo, of course, are doing fantastic stuff over in their group, of course, getting a 1-0 win over hard-fought Switzerland, who I actually thought were better on the day defensively up against the attackingness of Brazil, but still a B+ for me. They're through to the knockout stages. They got the job done. They can even take maybe the foot off the gas in their final game, but of course so far so good for them as they look forward to maybe getting a favourable tie in the next round, of course. Up of course over in the same group as Brazil, it is Cameroon. Of course they also picked up a cheeky point against Serbia. They actually were was it 3-1 down, 2-1 down, 2-0 down, I don't know, but of course a thriller in the end, 3-3 to get themselves a point. I'm giving them a B for their performance just this week. Of course their overall performance is still to be decided. They're not there yet, but of course giving themselves a little bit of hope, but of course they have to take on Brazil in the next round, which of course will be very, very tricky for them to get anything out of it. Next up, of course, it is over in Group F, and it is Canada, who are out. So there's nothing better. I can't really give them anything better than an F, to be honest with you. Oh, actually, let's tell a lie. I was a bit harsh. A D. I give them a D. Nobody really expected Canada to perform. They did get a good goal, a nice little goal. Alphonso Davies got the first goal for Canada in World Cup history, and it looked like they were potentially on for a bit of an upset, but of course Croatia were just too good, and of course sending Canada out on successive defeats. But when of course the draw was made, it was always going to be a tough one for them to get past the likes of Croatia and Belgium, but unfortunately they're going to go home at the first time of asking. Of course, next of course we have Costa Rica over in Group E. Wow. Of course it wasn't necessarily their best attacking display, but of course to come back from a 7-0 stuffing and to still be in the mix to get out of this group, nothing warrants more than an A+ for me for Costa Rica. They took their one chance, they scored, and of course gave themselves and Germany, of course, a fighting chance to get out of the groups and into the knockout stages. If they do it, it'll be mission impossible, of course, to see such a dramatic turnaround. But for me, well done for them, A+, and of course keep moving the chains once again. We go back then, of course, to Group F. and it's Croatia. And Croatia were at their prime best, of course, and giving them a B+. I know there's more in the tank there, but a 4-1 demolition job of Canada, and putting on the midfield dynamics display with Modric and co, rolling back the years somewhat and getting a comfortably win over Canada. To put themselves a little bit closer to the knockout stages, they will, of course, take on Belgium in the final game in the Battle of Europe, perhaps. I think it's pretty much win and you're in for either of the two sides. But, of course, so far, so good. Canada actually getting some goals as well, so well done to Croatia. Moving forward into Denmark. Now, Denmark have been a bit of a disappointment for me. That's over in Group D. I'm giving them a C for their performance against the French. Of course, it is France. They did give a good account of themselves. They got a score sheet, but, of course, they were up against the best man in the world right now. That is Kylian Mbappe. They still got a chance. Of course, they will take it on. Who will they take it on the final game? They'll be taking on Tunisia, Australia. They'll be taking on Australia in the final game, and again, win and you're in sort of thing. But of course, right now it's looking a little bit grim, but not in, but very, very grim. Of course, it's a Group A, and it was Ecuador putting up a barnstorming performance up against the Dutchies. That's right, get themselves a point in a 1-1 draw. For me, I think they are in contention to be my dark horse for this World Cup, but they've got to get over the line first and get into the knockout stages. Of course, so far unbeaten, of course, but it is a tough old slog for them to confirm their spot in the last 16, because they take on a pretty decent Senegal as well. Both sides competing for that black horse, or dark horse, should I say, for in this tournament. Ecuador doing good, Senegal as well, and again, another one of those games, win and you're in, and of course defeat will send you home. So Ecuador doing A-okay in there. Then of course we go to Group B, and it is England. Of course, England 6-2 demolition job of Iran, fantastic. Up steps the United States, and a dismal 0-0 draw, and a dismal with a capital D for me. Terrible stuff, toothless. Of course, you're not putting on the statement results like the Portugals or the Frances or the Argentinas right now. You got your 6-2 out of the way. Now, of course, you got a bit mini battle Britain up ahead. It could be an interesting or a bland week for English fans, but maybe the real World Cup is just around the corner. Moving forward, it is to France, of course, over in Group D, and another comfortable 2-1 win without really flexing too much muscle. Good, give them an A for their performance this week. It's good, but not beyond good. But they're still shining on the biggest stage, and Kylian Mbappe is taking this opportunity to show the world that he is the man, the myth of the superstar for the moment of world football. Scoring a couple of goals, putting, of course, France through to the next stage. Of course, no jinx for the French. So an A for me on that one. Moving over to Group, what are we looking at? I always get them wrong. Group E, and it's the Germans. Now, performance standards, I'm giving them a B. Of course, kept themselves in the mixer. Still got a shot at qualifying. All they're going to do now is beat Costa Rica, and I say that with a little bit of nerves in there, because you just don't know when you head into this. You've kind of put the destiny in other nations' hands as well, because I think a South Korea victory over Spain will actually send Spain and South Korea through. But of course, hopefully, professionalism will come out on top, and Germany's hard work in that Spanish game will come out on top. So a B for me for Germany. Meanwhile, Ghana, what a display they had over in Group H. Probably one of the performances of the round, but it was a very entertaining game. I think they were 2-0 up. Let me just get the goals on this one. I can't remember how it all panned out. They were 2-0 up to go 2-2, and then fought back to win 3-2. So, of course, at the back a little bit sloppy, but ultimately a B+ for their performance this week. Very, very good. Again, now of course it all boils down to the game that we want to watch at the end. It's a bit of revenge, isn't it? It's Ghana up against Uruguay, with, of course, destiny on the line for both those nations to see if they can get over the line into the knockout stages, and of course some scores to be settled perhaps. So Ghana, well done performance for them. Meanwhile, Iran are coming at you now with a win over in Group B, and of course one of my top marks, going to give an A+ for that. 2-0 following on from that 6-2 demolition by England, to bounce back with a late 2-0 win over Wales to give themselves, I think they're in second spot right now because of that. So kudos to them. They're in the mixer, and of course a draw puts them through to the knockout stages, and who'd have thunk it at the start of this tournament? Not me, and a lot of other people wouldn't have bothered with that as well. So well done to them. I think they are my performers of the week, or the match day anyway, so well done to Iran. Meanwhile, one of the downgrades of the week, and it is D for Japan. The 1-0 loss against Costa Rica. You know, when of course you did so well against beating Germany, and then to come into this game and then lose to Costa Rica to kind of give everybody a bit of hope in this group, and of course put your own destiny out of your hands. Really, you've got up against one of the better teams of the tournament so far, and you've got to try and beat them at their own game, really, to get out of this group. So what can I say about Japan? They peaked too soon, perhaps, but ultimately I'm giving them a D. Moving back to a group, what is it? C with Mexico, and of course he gets the C. Did I give him a C? I've actually given him a C minus. Let's get rid of that C right there. So C minus for Mexico. Just not in that game against Argentina. Put themselves on the brink of elimination themselves. Of course, stepping up now against Saudi Arabia, which have got the fans behind them, and they'll be cheering them on. But of course, it's still doable for Mexico, but they made it very, very difficult by not taking care of business against Argentina. Of course, that's easier said than done, but Mexico with a C minus for me. However, moving on to Group D, it is Morocco, one of another performances of the week, and of course it was actually Group B, Group F, a big 2-0 win over Belgium. That's right, giving them an A for Morocco for a fantastic 2-0 win, and they were the better side. It wasn't like a fluke victory. They were the better side. They looked the real deal, and of course they could be one of the African nations that make it through to the last 16, which would be great for world football. Get some spotlight on the African nations. So well done to Morocco on that one. Back over to Group A, and it's the Dutchies. Past the Dutchies with a C minus. That's right, the Dutchies floundered against Ecuador. They were still there, still in a comfortable spot to get through to knockout stages, but I've not been impressed with the Dutchies, bar Cody Gakpo. Cody Gakpo's been the main man, scoring the goals that have really put them in the mixer. Whether they'll peak later on in the tournament, who knows? But right now the Dutch are struggling. C minus performance-wise, just a point against Ecuador. A win would have actually sealed the deal, of course. Moving on to Poland, of course. Lewandowski with his first goal. That's in Group C. Nothing too crazy, of course. Rudimentary result, business-like performance over Saudi Arabia, and of course put them in the mix, of course, to get out into the group stages themselves. Lewandowski with the goal. B, nothing too crazy. B for business-like performance. Well done. And of course, moving on to the next one. Meanwhile, Portugal with a fantastic result against Uruguay, and I've given them a B plus for that. I think there's more in the locker here for Portugal, and I think that was the result to put them really in the spotlight as maybe semi-final contenders. And of course, when you look at the bracket, there is a real good chance for that. If they are to win this group, which it looks like they're going to, they'll take on the runners-up of Group G, which looks like it could be the Swiss, it could be the Serbs, it could be the Cameroonians. So there's a good chance for them to make quarterfinals, and then you just know. So a good chance for them to go deep in this competition, but of course without underestimating anybody in the process. But a B plus, couple of good goals, and move the chains as well. Into, of course, back into Group A, and it's an E for Qatar. Really massive golfing quality here, losing to the Dutch on opening day, or actually Ecuador on opening day, then losing to Senegal, of course, without little or no fight. They did get a goal, I think, wasn't it? What, a 2-1 loss? A 3-1 loss it was, 3-1 loss in the end. So not great for Qatar, already out, eliminated. I can't really grade you better than that. I'm being kind with an E, but disappointed with this tournament because I was expecting much more than this. So shame on you. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia also did pretty shitty against Poland, 2-0 loss there. Lack of goals, lack of desire, and that win over Argentina seems like a lifetime ago. But they're still in the mix. Taking on Mexico in a win or bust game, really. If they win, that puts them on 6 points, and it could actually still knock Argentina out, depending on what goes on between Poland and Argentina there. But C minus for this week, dismal, absolutely dismal. Back over to Group A, and it's Senegal. That's right, of course. Senegal did the business, a B for business-like performance over Qatar. Got the 3-1 victory, 3 points in the bag, and now just a straight shot against Ecuador, win, and you're in, and that's it. That's all they need to focus on. Get over the line, of course. Join maybe the likes of Morocco, join likes of maybe Cameroon or Ghana in the knockout stages, and make this a very African-heavy knockout stages. Of course, kicking on forward, we've got Serbia. Of course, we're in that thriller against Cameroon. 3-3 in the end. A little bit disappointed with Serbia at the moment, giving them a C. Goals are finally scored. I think did Mitrovic get on the score sheet here? Yeah, you got it. Savic, Milinkovic, Savic, Pavlovic as well. Defense is a problem. The defense looked okay against Brazil, but they've conceded 5 goals now in the last 2 games. It's concerning, taking on the business-like performance like the Swiss. I think it's going to be a tough old slog for them to get at it. In what could have been a World Cup for Serbia, they've really got to turn it around. against the Swiss. But a C for me on this one. Meanwhile, a C for the unlucky South Koreans, of course. Again, they lost to Ghana in the thriller. They got themselves back into it, so credit for them for never giving up. However, they let the heads go once at 2-2, and Ghana are right back in it and taking the victory. That's massive. Leaves South Korea on just 1 point, on the brink of elimination, and they now take on Portugal for a win and you're in kind of job. Of course, whatever goes on between Ghana and Uruguay also will have a bit of a bearing on that. So I think the destiny's out of their hands, but it's not looking good for South Korea. I'm giving them a C. It could even be a C minus. Then we got Spain, of course, giving them a C as well. From a 7-0 demolition job to a narrow 1-1 draw, nervy 1-1 draw. And yeah, they looked in control for a good part of that game, but they also looked a little bit vulnerable. Went up against a decent team in Germany. Now, I'm not saying Germany are the best or anywhere near that, but they were pressed up against some real opposition. Of course, when the English, when the French, when the Portuguese come to town, and they will, Spain are going to have to be on their guard, because they're not all Costa Ricans. You're not all going to turn these sides inside and out. So a C for me on this one for Spain. Moving forward, the Swiss did lose. I'm giving them a C plus for the performance against Brazil. They did lose, but I thought there were signs in there that these are the second best team in that group, and they will be the side that will go through to the knockout stages. However, they don't have the victory. That is the problem. Neither do Cameroon or Serbia, so it's very, very slim pickings for points. And we could see a team with 3 or very limited points to go through to knockout stages. But Brazil have been a golfing class difference between, and of course they found out to win hard, but unfortunately Swiss need to find a way to score some goals. So C plus, even though they lost. Moving over to Tunisia. Tunisia did lose to Australia. I did fancy Tunisia. I thought they were gonna be a surprise package, but they are looking a little bit miserable.